There's a huge range, right? We've done a lot of research on this in the last year because climate change is making such severe fires around the world, and they're getting trickier. In general, though, you use certain tried and true techniques on wildfires in particular. Dumping water from above is a tried and true method. You've got people on the ground making fire breaks, you've got fire retardants. In some cases, when the fires grow underground, it's even trickier. You have to use different equipment, but I would say the ones that I mentioned are kind of the main ones.
And Danielle, just a fantastic story here. Lots of really cool data. And what I'm noticing is just, there's some concerns here. There used to be discrete fire seasons, one for northern hemisphere, in the summer, and one for the southern hemisphere in our winter, their summer. But these are starting to kind of come together a little bit, and that's putting strain on these global resources. What's the solution there?
Well, I think the solution is not in place yet. So you're right. The way it has always worked in the past has been that most countries have their own fire seasons. They're reasonably predictable. In Canada, for example, where I am, we have pretty intense fires over the summer. They taper off in the fall, and by winter, usually we would have a dead zone in terms of fires. So in the case of sharing of resources, that has always been something countries have relied on. Canada and LA County have had an arrangement for 30 years where in August we send a couple of our aerial planes that can dump water on fires down to LA County. They're usually there for 3 months. When we get into trouble, the US sends their equipment back here. In 2023, Canada had massive fires. We got help from 12 countries that sent resources up here. And so there's been this global sharing. But what's happening now is the fire seasons are lengthening because climate change is creating conditions that mean more severe, longer fires. So you're getting fire seasons that extend into countries' autumns, that start earlier in the spring. In Canada, we have these zombie fires that are kind of a new thing where the fires are so intense in the summer that they actually go underground and they continue to burn all winter long and then come up very early in the spring. So the worry is that if we all start to have overlap with our fire seasons, how do you share the resources? And sharing the resources has been a key part of dealing with fires. It means countries are going to have to start to have more fire resources on the ground, for one thing.
So is that people? Is it equipment? Is it helicopters? What is that? Or all of the above, maybe?
Yeah, it's all of the above. So I mentioned that Canada, sends these super scooper water bombers to LA. They were in the air yesterday fighting the Hughes fire. They're probably in the air again today, wind allowing. But we send, hoses, protective equipment, but people especially. Since 2000, so in the last 25 years, more than 9,000 firefighters have come across the border into Canada to help us fight our fires. We've sent about 4,400 abroad. It would be a more balanced trade sort of balance, if you like, if it hadn't been for 2023, because in 2023, Canada needed so much help. We brought in 5,500 firefighters from abroad. That was the year that the smoke blanketed New York. And a lot of those firefighters crossed the Canadian border from the United States.